Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is how to get a flawless base. This is how I do a full coverage skin look, so that my skin looks absolutely flawless for any event. So if you want to know how I get my flawless base, then just keep watching. So first off, I start by prepping my skin using the Clinique Liquid Facial Soap. This is in mild. And then followed by the moisturiser I always use is the Clinique Dramatically Different Moisturising Lotion. Now for dry skin like mine, I think this is literally the perfect combination. It never breaks me out and I absolutely love these two together. I've been using them for years and they've never failed me. And then to further hydrate my skin, I'm going to take the Clinique Moisture Surge Face Spray. I find that so hard to say. And just spritz that all over my face. Quite a lot because my skin is incredibly dry at the moment. Then for primer, I'm going to take my Nivea Men's Post Shave Balm. Just shake that up. So for foundation, I'm going to take the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation, or the alternative you can use is the L'Oreal True Match. I honestly think they're just as good as each other. This is around £30, whereas my True Match is like $9.99, so I definitely recommend the True Match. So because this is a flawless base routine, I will be applying quite a lot of foundation and concealer, but I kind of buff it out using the stippling brush to keep it as natural as possible. Now I'm happy with how my foundation looks. I'm going to take my Maybelline Instant Anti-Age, the eye eraser, and I'm going to put that over any blemishes or places I feel like needs more coverage. So normally I take that around my nose, on any scarring I have, and then I take quite a bit on my forehead because that's where I tend to suffer with quite a lot of blemishes. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to stipple that in, so literally just patting motions. If you buff it in, it'll just sink into the foundation, whereas you want to kind of put another layer on top of the foundation. And then what I want to do is I want to highlight my under eyes and conceal any of the bags or dark circles I have. So I'm going to take my Collection Lasting Perfection Concealer, and this is in the shade Fair. And all I'm going to do is use that as an under eye highlight. So all I'm doing is taking that in a triangular motion under my eye, and that'll really conceal and highlight your under eye circles or bags, or if you're lucky to have neither, then just highlight your under eye, and then once again stippling that in. Then to further highlight my face, I'm taking that same Collection concealer, putting it on my chin, on my cupid's bow, on the tip of my nose, and down the bridge of my nose. And this is the places I'll later put highlighter on as well. So it really emphasises those features you want to make stand out and look more 3D. Obviously if you have any blemishes on that centre of your face, then maybe don't conceal with such a light colour because you don't want to be drawing attention to those blemishes. And following that concealer process, all I'm going to do is take the original RCMA No Colour powder. What I'm going to do is pop this in the lid because it's a loose powder, so it tends to go everywhere. Take a damp beauty blender, or this is the Real Technique Miracle Sponge, and dip the pointy ends straight in the powder. Now with this you want to make sure the sponge isn't too wet, otherwise it will tend to move your foundation and all the stuff you've worked in blending. I'm just going to dot that under my eyes, trying not to sweep it because it'll move all the foundation. So now this process, if you don't already know, is called baking. It makes you look absolutely ridiculous, and I'm perfectly aware. But all it does is the powder absorbs into your foundation and concealer that you've previously laid, and it gives you a really even base, and just setting any of that concealer in place, because the worst thing is when your concealer moves around your face. It's not cute. So while I sit here looking like a bit of a hooligan, I'm going to move on to contouring. And for that I'm going to take my Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder in medium brown and take my Morphe R14 brush. So all I'm going to do is stack my cheekbones and put the sculpting powder right in the hollows of my cheeks. Then any excess powder I have, I'm just going to run up the side of my temples. And then I'm going to leave that bake on even longer and take my Hoola Bronzer by Benefit and my Morphe M527 brush. And I'm just going to bronze up the rest of my skin because I don't want to leave just the contour on there. I think it looks a lot better when the rest of your face is also warmed up. So I'm just dusting that right over the contour and around the perimeters of my face. And also under my chin, just to sculpt that out. I go right up into my ears for this part because you obviously want your whole jawline to look shaped and contoured. Now my bake's been on there for long enough, I'm going to take my Look Good Feel Good powder brush and just wipe that away. So just in sweeping down motions. So you can probably see that has left my under eyes really flawless, the concealer's completely set in place, and it has left it slightly lighter. It obviously takes away that dewiness that my drier skin needs, but it's ideal because you can always add the dewiness back in later. And then I'm going to do literally the same baking technique, taking my loose powder, the pointed end, dipping my brush in and going under my contour because at the moment it looks a little bit patchy and we don't want it to look cakey. I go from the corner of my mouth to the middle of my ear. And I do really light sweeping motions for this. And I start quite low. I don't go in too high straight away because obviously I don't want to mess it up and go too high and my bronzer to start too high up. The thing I think it's most key is to get it from going from the middle of your ear. I don't always end up, as you can probably see, going to the corner of my mouth because I don't want it to look too contoured, but the middle of your ear literally follows your hollow of your cheek perfectly. And obviously the key is to get them as symmetrical as possible because you don't want your contour and your bronzer to be at different levels because that would just look plain weird. So all I'm going to do is just leave that to settle for a while. I'm not going to leave it as long as my under eye bake. Right, and then while that's settled, I'm going to take my Becca Jaclyn Hill face palette. So then I'm going to take the colour Champagne Pop. Now Champagne Pop by itself in a pan I think is still available at Space NK and Sephora, but unfortunately this face palette isn't. If you do want an affordable dupe for this palette, then I'd recommend the Revolution Golden Sugar 2 Rose Gold palette. So I'm going to take my Morphe M501 brush, dip that straight into Champagne Pop, and just run that along my cheekbones. I don't wear blush, so I normally go straight in with highlight. If you do apply blush, I'd apply it just before the highlighting step. I always take it along my brow bone too. Take a bit on my chin, on my cupid's bow, on my nose, and down the bridge of my nose, just like I did with that lighter concealer earlier. And then I'm going to go back in with that Look Good Feel Good powder brush and wipe the bake away. Then all I'm going to do is take my powder brush and go right over the top of my bronzer and highlight, because my pet peeve is when you can see highlight and bronzer and they just do not look like they're blended together. So just lightly go over the top of that just to make sure it's seamlessly blended. To finish off my flawless base makeup, I'm going to take my Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray and just spritz that all over my face. And that'll add the dewiness back in my skin that we got rid of when we were doing the powder. Then lastly, to be super high maintenance, all I'm going to do is go back in with Champagne Pop, and while that's my skin's still a bit wet from the setting spray, apply a bit more highlight. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the rest of my makeup. And there you have it, that is how I do my flawless base routine. I really hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click my face to subscribe. Also, check out one of my recent videos. If you did like these how-to videos, then let me know in the comments and let me know what you guys would love to see, because I love to know what you really enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye! And then to hydrate my skin, I'm going to take the Clinique Moisture